Hello and welcome to episode 517 of the Awesome Comics Podcast, a place where the small press makes one hell of a big noise. My name is Vince Hunt, and joining me as always is the artist and creator of the epic webcomic series Vanguard, Dan Butcher.
Hello.
And calling in from the space shuttle this week is Tony Esmond. How is it out there in space, Tony?
Weirdly, there's a space shuttle in one of my recommends later.
Really?
How weird is that?
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking weird.
I mean, not many people know about this because it didn't make a big deal out of it. I know, like Katy Perry and all of those ladies went up to space recently.
Much about it, didn't they?
And now Tony's, you've taken the next one, didn't you? You got tickets for the next one after.
It wasn't cheap. I'll be honest with you.
What's the in-flight entertainment and food like?
Well, it's only 15 minutes, isn't it? So I had a wank. So
yeah. What's that like, anti-grav?
Well, it's everyone goes about the Mile High Club, but I've done that, haven't I?
Yeah.
But I know it's technically wanking, so it's sex for myself.
So you're in the anti-gravity club.
Technically sex.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Is it sex having a wank?
I don't know.
For some people, yes.
For some comic creators, it probably is.
Right.
For some comic journalists.
What authority do you write into to ask? Is that?
Well, it certainly wouldn't be us because
we are the authorities on wanking.
We are.
I'm saying it now.
I don't want that fucking byline attached.
No, we don't. And we may be a bunch of wankers.
I'm adding that to my email sign off.
Yeah.
Authority on Tommy tanking.
Masturbatory.
Master of masturbatory sciences.
He's got a PhD in the Shanghai shotgun.
That'd be a quick essay, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just a one shot, one kill. Anyway, but from that, no, we're not experts in that. But what we do talk about on a weekly basis is comics. I mean,
which we're also not experts on, but we do talk about it a lot.
If we got new listeners listening to this particular episode and they're still here, God love you, because it's usually within the first minute or so that I lose all control and.
Yeah,
this is the meat and potatoes.
Reading it back in.
Yeah, and it's meat and potatoes.
I can imagine you listen, thinking, "Fuck, is this? I'm turning this off."
Yeah.
But see you later.
Please trust us, listeners. Give it about 10 minutes or so, 5 to 10 minutes
after this,
and you'll have some very interesting comics discussion and debate. Yeah. And I wasn't going to make the obvious joke there when I used the word debate that I have done in the past.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah.
No.
We'll never be that obvious.
No. We don't do bits. But what we do is talk about comics.
Theatre of the mind.
And we had thank you after last week's show for all the interaction about our topics and stuff.
Yeah, nobody sent us like the letter that said, "Oh, you don't understand Bill Shinkovich. Oh, you don't understand what." We didn't get that, so did we? I was quite pleased.
No. Last week's was a very interesting episode. We essentially asked each other just one question. About comics, and they weren't like, "Who's your favourite superhero?" If you've been listening to this show for long enough, we delve a bit deeper and we get a little bit psychological sometimes with some of our questions.
That was a good chat last week.
Yeah. And I don't think it's wrong to even attempt to say that any of our choices were controversial because it was just a matter of opinion, wasn't it? And I love that the discourse that was had afterwards about some of the topics and people bringing forth their own.
There's books that people brought up that I was like, man, I don't get them. And then other people brought books up and I was like, man, I totally get you.
And this was concerning a question like, what are some of the big titles or these classic titles?
Still going. There was one about
that that just do not resonate for you. We won't go over it again. Listen to 516 to see what you think, and also on the Slack or on Instagram or wherever. Keep the conversation going. We opened up to the Slack a little bit. And we asked for a few, we've asked each other questions. And, after the response, we said, we're recording a little bit early this week. So, what would you like us to talk about? And it's, once again, the Slack community is amazing because they don't do the, who's your favourite superhero? I don't know why that's the voice. It's more of a thoughtful topic of debate. I know, Tony, you've got another question as well.
Oh, well, if we fit it in, we're going to get to it.
Yeah, a bit later. Because that's the thing is we usually line up about 5 or 6 and we only get to about 3 normally because we have such a good discussion. But we're going to kick this one off, and thank you to everyone that got in touch and to all the people having just a brilliant conversation on our Slack community. If you aren't part of it, please do join up. It's basically like a messenger app because some people just don't know what Slack is because we've got Microsoft Teams and things like that. Lots of people use lots of different apps and things, aren't they? And Slack is essentially like Microsoft Teams, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like for an old school forum board in some respects, but it's like teams of messages, channels. It's really
well, if you read
once
my
you get your head around it.
If you read my column today, I referred to it as sulk, and then I missed it in the spelling recheck.
Nice. So we're going to call it that from now. So if you want to join the sulk community, then let us know and we'll add you. And there's lots of different channels talking about comics discussions, art threads. There's a process. There's, if you've got a Kickstarter, there's threads for all that. There's threads for everything. So it's not just if you listen to this show. There's a wonderful community on there. And,
perhaps in the future, if we wanted to take like the Bonnie Blues lead and do like 100 questions in an episode.
Why did you?
Why is Bonnie Blue your hero? Right?
Yeah.
I was going to say she came up before we start recording, but that's bad.
Yeah,
well.
And I had to
Let's just move on.
We need to move on. I had to listen to this filth.
She's got a comic imprint, hasn't she?
Oh, fuck off!
It's called Chompadies.
Who doesn't? But as we said,
Chompadies.
Yeah.
It's a scratch and sniff edition.
Do not engage. Oh, oh my God! Unbelievable. Should we
That's just like a die-cut hole in the front.
Shut up, Dad! For fuck's sake! I mean, look.
Bringing back the die cut.
He's fucking gold. This is gold.
This is gold. I'll tell you what. Dan he's leaving us for a little bit soon, so he's got all this energy.
He'll never really leave. He'll be here in spirit next week.
Yeah. He had a whole bag of sherbet lemons before he came on, and he's absolutely fizzing, aren't you, Dan?
No, we were typical middle-aged men who were complaining about how tired we were about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. True.
I had the laptop on my lap and dozed off, did like a micro sleep for a second.
Oh,
so
did you?
I'm not fucking hammering it today, I tell you.
Oh my God, it was on your
They're
lap.
really good when you're driving because you get a little rest, don't you? I find. Yeah.
If you hear the bumping, it means you got to pull over.
As always, folks, whatever we talk about on the Awesome Comics podcast is merely our opinions,
bants,
or sometimes just outrageous lies. Which are which? That's up for you to decide.
Fucking outrageous lies. We're not even married. We live in the same room.
No, we live in the same room. We're like Morecambe and Wise, and another one. Yeah, there's a classic.
I mean, who's in the middle?
Right, let's just leave that there. I'll tell you what.
Right in.
Right.
And this...
Do you want to be in the middle? Get in touch with us. There's several different ways.
Pay us £1,000. You can be in the middle.
Yeah. We do, of course, have some shout outs and some recommendations at the end of the show.
Yes.
But to kick us off, our old pal Matthew Bunce. We haven't so much talked about process so much recently. And first off, thank you for getting in touch, Matthew. It's awesome to see him creating his own comics as well. Like getting the work out.
Totally, yeah.
He sent me something he wants me to ink, and I haven't got around to it, and it haunts me, that page.
Wow. Well, there you go. Put that as a pull quote on whatever you do, Matt.
I've been practicing. I got one of those dip pens.
Yeah.
You were doing faces at one point, weren't you, T? Like,
just tried to draw every morning, and then doing these faces.
Jesus
turned into
Christ.
fucking Benny Hill. What's happening this episode?
What's happening?
I was trying to.
I'll tell you what, in regards to the question, you actually sent for a graphic, T, of someone.
Yes. But right, so I'll ask the question first. Okay?
Let's ask the question.
Yeah, and then we'll get into the graphic, which we then talked about on the WhatsApp, and we'll go discuss with you lovely people. Matt says, as I'm learning to write, any process on that is always appreciated, especially as my process is rather random, to say the least. Now,
process on writing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because everyone has their own way of doing things, isn't it? And I mean, you said random there, Matt, but there's probably a lot of people that there's probably a lot of creators who would say exactly the same thing, because writing feels a very personal thing. And would you say it's something that everyone's like, I don't write like anyone else? Do you think like every writer thinks the way that they craft a script or comic story?
I don't think I'd have the ego to say that.
What, to say everyone does it differently?
To say that I do it differently to everyone else in the world. I think I'd probably say, I probably do it similar to some. But you're right, it is a personal thing. And I I think the craft of writing is an overestimated craft. I think you just start writing.
Okay.
I don't, like we've talked about previously, I don't believe in writer's block either. It's something I don't believe in.
I did put this on a group the other day when someone was talking about block, and I was like, I'd never had this. I don't know what it is.
See, I've had it.
Okay. How do you describe the sensation of what?
Me and Pat talked about this when I was away.
Actually, to say it's writer's block, is it? I think.
Is it more comic maker's block that you've had?
It's when it comes to, like, especially writing a script or whatever it may be, actually, script or prose. And this is just personal experience. Would I describe it as a block? It feels like a block.
Okay.
But I think it's less one of those. What stops me is it's not so much, oh, I've got nothing after, you craft a scene, you craft that scene, and then you've got nothing afterwards. The problem I run into personally that I have is I kind of know where it's going, and then there's something that's like something keeps slowing me down. Like I get to a certain point, and it's like, oh, I can't get to that next bit. I get two in my head, and as soon as I start to get two in my head, things start to slow. I'll motor at a certain pace, and then shit, because there is blank road ahead of me. It was different, like when I worked on the Devil Kickers book, for instance.
Yeah.
Because my buddy Dan Chan, he wrote a first draft, and then I went in and I was writing and editing.
I wondered how you two wrote that. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
So it was almost like he had laid track, and I was just shifting the directions it was going and things like that. And I've written short prose stuff. And some of my comic script stuff is very, very short and to the point. So sometimes a longer form thing, it is daunting. Murder Road, for instance, cut into 4 chunks of 10. Do you know what I mean?
I'd say you're putting too much pressure on yourself.
I mean, I think it is. I think it is
that.
I think I'm making the blocks for myself. Do you know what I mean? It's almost.
Do you think you could just start writing? That's always the thing. I know.
Yeah.
Writer's block is a weird thing to describe because everyone can sit down and type. I'm sitting at my desk looking at the computer. Everyone can write that.
Yeah.
It's this making it very focused is what's blocking you.
Yeah.
I
think there's also I can get very easily distracted by things.
Right.
So do you know what I mean? I'll be in it. Do you know what I mean? If I could, if sit on a desert island and you got no internet, you just got a fucking typewriter or a laptop and you got no connection and you've just got the blank page, something would probably happen. Do you know what I mean?
I think the thing is you write something else. I think if you're looking at a project and you think, I don't really know what I'm going to do with this next, I'll go and write the fucking next week's mailer, or I'll work on the book I'm working on, or something like that.
But that's an interesting thing because, like, I've got the graveyard, the cemetery of half-started.
I think we all have, though, haven't we?
Yeah. And I think because I've never sort of kept up like an ongoing blog or mailer or things like that.
That's the only reason I do it is an exercise in regularly writing.
But when you have that, for instance, and to go back to the question, and like we talk about planning and structure and just listeners, just to let you know, like when we have writers on and we talk about process, I'm actually like trying to get tips of how to how do you structure things? Like, when you have a writer coming on going, was it Cullen Bunn that said, I have from this time I'm doing this project in the morning. Yeah. In the afternoon I'm doing this project.
Yeah, that's right, wasn't it? Yeah.
And it's fascinating having that bits because it's the structure of it which will really help. And I think structure is really important. Now we talk about the structure of stories and storytelling. I think it's less for a lot of people, it's less about that. It's the structure of how you plan your day. So Tony, like when you have you have your mailer or your script, have you blocked in, well, I'm going to be working on that this afternoon? Because I don't think I could necessarily work with, I've got an hour this afternoon, I'll do a little bit of the book. Or I've got an hour, I'll do a little bit of this. It's too haphazard. I think I would benefit more from a structure. What do you think?
That's the interesting thing about it is I have to get it. So I've made a rule for myself. It has to be in before lunchtime on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
So I spend the Tuesday thinking about it, a little, just a little theme, like the books I'm going to choose, a little theme for the start of it, and then I write it before work on the Wednesday morning, and then I post it on the website and on Substack now. So it slightly changes on each posting. I add little bits to it, to one and not to the other. But the thing is, for me, is I write at work constantly. So we write papers and studies and research constantly. I've written probably about 2,000 words of an academic writing today. And that doesn't include all the research notes, you know. So I'm constantly writing. So I don't. It means I don't ever get a pause where I think I don't think I can write today. I never get that.
Yeah.
You know.
I think. I mean, tell me what you think about this, but I think if people, there's a fallacy to, if I was to say, oh, I can't write like that, or I can't do that. There's a fallacy to that because, you know, the brain is a muscle. And the writing is an exercise. It's almost no different to, you know, people are like, I can't run a marathon. I can't go to the gym because I just don't do it. I don't know. But if you
get out the door.
But if you get,
that's a self-imposed roadblock.
Exactly. But if you start doing it, and slowly but surely, after like, I don't know, a certain amount of time, you'll look back and go, wow, this is what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a
I talked about this a few weeks ago, didn't I? In comparison to running, and I find, as long as I get out the front door, I'll have a fucking ball running. It's just getting the shoes on and getting out the front door early in the morning. But I also find, coincidentally, talking about running, I find that writing after running is better because I don't listen to music or anything like that as I run, and I think about things, and it gives you that focused thinking time that you don't get when you're having to do things about the house or you're sitting at work or people are around you. It's like there's nobody about. I'm fucking over the hills and far away. And it just gives me that sort of focus, and it helps with the running, you know, because you're trying to ignore the pain.
That thing of like, I'll have a story on the go, and imagine it like a series of jigsaw pieces in a line, and I've got this gap in the middle. There's a piece missing, and you'll be running or exercising, and I'm not actively thinking about it, and then suddenly like it's like click, and it's like that work that fit in.
Yeah. Now this is an interesting thing because like you're on the move, and like you're doing these sort of things, and this similarity I'll put it down to sometimes is I'm driving to work. You know, I've got a movie soundtrack on. If I want to do some narrative thinking, if I want to do some storytelling, and I don't want to sing along like an absolute lunatic in the car to my loud crunchy music, you know, I'll listen to some soundtrack of some kind that will be in the theme of the stories that I'm thinking of in my head. And I'll think, here is a scene. Oh my God, I just thought of this brilliant line. I got that. But I'm on the move. So, you know, I haven't done this yet, but I've thought, like, as soon as I stop, not in traffic, but as soon as I'm parked up, I should get the phone out and just get the notes app and just write it all down, because otherwise, I have lost probably a million great lines.
Then here's what you got to do. You got to say SIRI or whatever the thing is on your phone.
I don't use those apps. I don't use dictaphone.
Haven't you got one on your phone?
Yeah, but I just don't. I tell you what, I am a caveman analog. I am an analog caveman.
As I'm driving along, I'll say, "Hey, SIRI,
yeah.
Take a note," and they say, "What do you want to say?" And then I'll just say it, and then I've got fucking all these weird things on my phone.
Yeah,
because otherwise
it's an audio notebook essentially.
Yeah. I've started doing that.
That's definitely a way to do it, especially because you do a fair bit of driving, didn't you, T?
Yeah, most of my drives are long ones, so by the time I actually get to stop, it's like 2 hours, 3 hours later.
Yeah, so you've got to do that way.
Yeah.
One thing Callum Bunn said was interesting. He said, I work on this project in the morning and that project in the afternoon. I find that hard to do because, I don't know about you guys, I'm locked. My headspace is in this project.
Yeah.
And like, I'm writing this comic. I've got this script on the go. To suddenly say, right, halfway through the day, I'm not working on that. I'm going to work on this.
I mean,
but I've got to be a different fucking way of thinking.
Absolutely,
to work on this
one. I agree that because that's I mean, he's been doing this. He's got a million ideas, so it's all like that's.
He does write a lot.
Yeah. But very much. Sometimes when I find with stories and narratives, on that day, I'm in that mood, and I've tried before thinking, you know, I've got this story. Oh, brilliant. Oh, I can't quite cross that hurdle with this story. Should I try that one? And I got nothing because I'm not in the right headspace because I'm on a different track.
That story, you have a story
B. I do a lot of handwritten notes about stuff as well. So I'll write. I got massively encouraged by Pat who keep telling me, "Oh, you write those. Why don't you just write a book? Why don't you just write a book? I'm writing a book," and all this sort of thing. And I'm thinking, "Oh, I might do then."
Yeah.
So I've written about, I don't know, 4,000 words in it so far. But what I did do is, because I was on holiday, I took the time to actually write a plan and write character notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like I write a sort of timeline thing going on.
Yeah,
with
nice
the movement of all the
great,
characters, because I've never done that before. It's always been just from my head onto the paper, vague idea, thinking of the story beats as I go along. But I thought, no, I'm going to take the time just to say chapter 1 and what comes off that. Chapter 2, how does that link in? And that sort of thing. These are the characters. Write down the names of all the characters, what I've said about them as I go along.
I used to. I think one of the things, this is a strange way to put it, but one of the things that's killed a lot of the ideas that I've had is my enthusiasm for it. Now that sounds like a strange thing.
I know, man. I know. I've got to hit that train.
This is great. This is a great idea. Oh, I've written a couple of pages of notes. Let's get started now. I want to get started, but I shouldn't have, because it wasn't fleshed out enough. Because there weren't bullet points saying the story goes here, 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 here. And I found with a lot of the narrative, I've got stories that I know where they'll go. I was talking about those roadblocks. I'll pass them at some point because I know where it's going. Because I've written and I make bullet points, much like you've written, T. This is going, this bit's going here, this bit's going here. In the writing of it, I could discover a character that I like, or a place. All of a sudden, you just on the cuff, you're writing a place or something like that, and something that'll be flavour that adds to it. But the narrative backbone of the story should be what it is. I think it's also it can be a trick not to get too carried away with some of the characters you create that you like. Because if you've got a main character, then you're like, I just created a supporting character.
Which time and thinking about it allows you to do that. I think sometimes, but I'm a creature. We are all creature of fucking moods, aren't we? And trends and whatever you want to call it. And I'll go fucking white hot on something for a couple of months, and then I slow down a bit. I'm not that interested in it anymore. And you need to be disciplined. That's the thing that
Mate, that's the word. Is discipline. Is like when you get that initial idea and say, "Oh, this is great," and to get tearing into it, and then that will go. And if you think, well, because that's gone now, this project isn't worth it. It's just because you've kind of got used to the ideas contained within. You've still got to judge it on whether you can still take it forward and do it, and that's where the discipline comes in.
I mean, go on.
It's like getting into a new relationship or seeing someone new. And it's like as soon as the initial kind of like the thrill of seeing them, I'll move on to the next one. You know what I mean? There's a lot more to it than
typical
just
bloke.
Not like us. We're kind of
no. It's like the
you know what I mean?
It's like you're on the couch. There's a map of Africa right next to you at fucking 2 a.m. in the morning. Do you know what I mean? And they say to you, "Why are you in DFS? It's closed."
I
had to buy that sofa in the end.
A great 10 Rules of Writing comics, didn't you?
That was quite good. So that come from I think somebody had posted Chuck Dixon's 10 Rules of Writing. I think my phone fucking is haunting me because I just watched that Statham movie, which I quite liked.
Working Man.
I quite like that. First half cracking, second half didn't quite go where I thought it would go, but the and then suddenly Chuck Dixon things turned up on my phone, so I'm like, right, my phone is definitely haunting me now, And one of the things that came up was somebody had said, "Oh, I've made a poster of the 10 rules of Chuck Dixon," sort of thing. So and there was some interesting stuff in there.
For those who don't know, Chuck Dixon, obviously quite a history in comics, mainly for his Batman work. Is that am I right in thinking that?
Punisher as well.
Punisher.
A few other things. He's writing some Conan novels at the moment as well, which are really good.
I'll tell you what, I'll read them all through first, then we can go back over them. So we've got one open strong, 2 only essential dialogue, 3 at least 3 pieces of action per story, 4 remember that someone has to draw what you write, 5 find something to like about each character, 6 find something to hate about each character, 7 avoid redundancy, don't describe what the reader can see, 8 every comic is someone's first comic, 9 don't be a smart ass, and 10 the last panel of each page should make the reader want to turn to the next page.
Now
there's a lot to like for a certain genre of comics there. You know what I mean? That's the superhero action.
And I think we could have an entire show just about these 10 rules and break them down and what we think and stuff like that. For you, what are the standout points? Because obviously,
open strongman. Open strong.
Totally.
Bendis says the same in his book. I think
open
really,
strong.
yeah. We'll talk about dialogue later, so maybe should we pin that one only essential dialogue till later? And remember that someone has to draw what you write as well. I mean, it's something I'm very conscious of now. I mean, poor old Cliff, I was giving him famous people to draw throughout the last issue, and he was saying, "Oh, fucking, I've got to try and draw Mike."
I just go totally over that point.
Yeah.
Fuck the guy who has to draw my comics.
Yeah. I think obviously, like some of these, I mean, the 3 pieces of action per story was some of these really intrigued me. This is coming from
a hard one. Because
it's a
what's
certain genre of comic as well, I think.
But like, is it an issue or is it an entire? Say it's a 4-issue.
Yeah, I
run.
think he's
That's a tricky one, isn't it? Because
it's his style of comics. I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do a 3-act structure, one action per act. You know what I mean?
See, I'm not a lover of McKee. I've read it.
Okay.
And I actively hated it as I was reading it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and Pat has tried to convince me because he really rates it.
Yeah.
McKee, and I had this. It just got into my head that he's making script writing into a maths equation.
Yeah, the formulaic. You got to be very careful because there's that book, Don't Kill the Cat, and there's sometimes I see films and it's like this is following that formula to a T.
Yeah.
And
I think too many people read McKee now because films have become less. You can guess what's going to happen in so many films.
It's interesting when we get these guides and these tips that become Bibles for a lot of.
Yeah, I've got one from Alan Moore's guide later to talk about as well.
Whether it be students or lots of pros are like, oh, I love this, and that's great because when these books first come about, they are sort of like. They're lightning rods, aren't they? Of inspiration for a lot of people. But then after a while, when they become academia, the academia becomes the go-to way of making things, and therefore, by doing it, it almost makes it stale because everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it takes another book to break that cycle to sort of say, well, don't do it like that anymore.
Comics only grows when people are prepared to break traditions.
Yeah.
And I think that's Mark Miller kind of said that to us a bit, didn't he? It's sort of the sort of cycle of comics. You get to that point where they're not as popular. People are prepared to take more chances. We get more underground. People fucking put stuff out there. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, where would we be without some of the 2000 AD characters or Luther Arkwright and some of this? We're like, fucking hell, I see what they did now. Yeah, there's steps still to be taken that we haven't taken yet because people are playing safe.
There has to be steps to be taken. Like this, this got to happen.
I think, like in terms of these 10 steps, to break it down, I looking at those 10 steps, just looking at them on their titles, and obviously we raved about Battle Beast issue 1.
Yeah,
last
issue
episode.
2 kicks ass as well. Yeah, I tell you guys.
If you look at that comic and you look at this list, I think that comic pretty much ticks off all the boxes. Right, for instance, like every comic book is someone's first comic.
Number 6.
You don't need to read Invincible to read that book.
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm not sure of them all. That's the one for me. See what you guys think. That's the one for me that I thought since Stan said it or Jim Shooter? Stan.
Stan said it.
Stan said it. It's the way that comics are delivered has become different.
It has become different, because I think comics, especially in those those halcyon days that we look back on the back issue bins now, they were more pick one up. It's the monster of the week. It's their 2 issues, 3 issues at best. It's their fighting Galactus or something like that. So it's easier, and they did a lot more talking about. Well, last time this happened.
Yeah. There's still that at the start of Marvel books now, isn't there? They still give that sort of who fucking reads it though.
But it's not delivered in a enticing, readable format.
Yeah,
I think. But like one of the things that intrigued me about this list, and now thinking about it, Battle Beast also covers find something to like about each character and find something to hate about each character.
Yeah. Now, you see, with Battle Beast, I have this theory: there's an underlying bitter heart on its way.
Yeah, that's what you feel like the setups for, didn't you? Like,
but at the same time, it's covering both because you
don't like him, but you hope he's going to be all right.
And also,
you,
you just like him kicking ass. You're like, he's fucking badass.
But he is a massive arsehole. But in his story, he says like, I fought with these people and made this utopia, and then realized I had to leave because I would fuck it up if I stayed.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get that kind of good aspect of it, but he's leaving because he's a massive arsehole who just wants to fight all the time.
Yeah.
I can't spoil it, but in issue 2, there's a couple of slight changes to the people who we now think will be the supporting cast.
Right. Okay. Man, I'm fucking
It's
really looking forward to reading it.
I tell you what, that's gonna. I think it's gonna be one of my series of the year, to be honest. But
fun, man.
But it does.
That's all I'm interested in.
Yeah.
It's not a deep read. It's not from hell, but it's just fucking made me laugh.
I think that most of these 10, it's covered by it. It's just one issue of a book.
And run us through the other ones. What else we got there, V?
I mean, some of them don't be a smart ass about. They want a good, fast-paced story. Don't be preachy to the reader. Tell that story and get out of the way.
It does that.
That's I like that. Get out of the way, because I think the problem that a lot of people have with a lot of, especially modern comics and some of the bigger publishers sort of stuff, which we might get onto a little bit later, is people are not getting in the way. They're sat in it. Do you know what I mean? They almost are part of the story, rather than someone telling a story and backing away. And I was going to touch on a point that, especially for a lot of indie creators, when you're crafting a story, we can be doing sci-fi, we can be doing horror, we can be doing all kinds. We can do comedy books, But no matter what that topic is, if you choose to do something that isn't just a quick hit, bang in and out, if you're choosing to do something that's longer form, then no matter how much you like that genre, have a think about what you're choosing to write about, because you need to spend a lot of time with it and you need to be in that headspace. And there's so many indie and small press books, I don't know if you guys think this, where it's serial killers, something happened, like the fucking slave traders, or there's just all of this darkness going on because people are attracted to darkness. But to do that well, you've got to be in a fucking dark place. You have to. If you've got to write a comic about a serial killer, not everyone is a Doug Wagner that can write that. Have a bit of charm, and also just be a really nice, upstanding dude. Do you know what I mean?
There's something about Wagner's books that make me feel like they're comedies in a way as well.
Yeah, there's a dark, farcical kind of.
Yeah.
One thing about the Don't Be a Smartass is the whole thing of say Batman and Robin, on a rooftop seeing some crime go down, and then Robin's like, well, it could be down to societal issues. Why don't you give more of your money to charity so this doesn't happen, Batman? And it's like, why is this here?
Yeah, get out of the way of the writing and apply yourself to the characters. Yeah. That's something we've said for so long, isn't it?
This is about Batman driving around in a Batman-themed sports car fighting crime.
Dressed as a bat.
I think maybe this is a simplistic soapbox to stand on and say, but there's been many times where I read a superhero book or something like this, and the writer writes like they're better than the person that they're writing about.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and it's interesting.
Do you know what I mean? It's almost like
I see what you mean. I've never thought about that.
Yeah. It's like, no, you're writing these particular characters. Why can't you? You're not there to judge them. You're there to tell their story. And
it's the same way with films when they kind of have to shy away from using the actual costumes and stuff. It's like you're embarrassed by the source material. It's like, well, why adapt it then?
Yeah.
If you don't like writing whatever character.
Yeah.
Because you're ashamed of it. Why are you here? It's
why are you here?
Fucking throw yourself into it.
Yeah. Is it because? Oh God, this is going to sound bitchy. Is it because your own ideas no one will pay to read unless it's got a logo on it?
Yeah. There's certainly some. There's a bit of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody wants to read your Dungeons and Dragons comic, so you turn Excalibur into your Dungeons and Dragons comic. That's happened. That's nonsense. That's not the Excalibur bit worried.
I think generally he's kind of. Chuck's got some, like I said, I think this very specific type of comic.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this won't work for an autobio comic.
But something happening when you go into it.
Yeah.
It's got to have something happening when you open the page.
Yeah.
I always think about that. I think they shouldn't be sitting around for fucking the first 8 pages.
No,
something's got to happen. Yeah. Whether it's an argument in a restaurant or a fight in the street or a space armada arrives. It doesn't matter. It can be anything.
And to bring in the auto bio, because initially I thought the same thing, Dan, when looking at this list. But let's break it up. Like for instance, only essential dialogue. Well, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
We're
people
telling a
only
story.
speak in essential dialogue.
Yeah.
Wait till later. I've got you'll have the
most
example.
of the time. You don't even fucking finish sentences.
Yeah.
No.
And
it's just all.
I think when we see the word
Like we
action
did there.
as well.
Like I said, no and they're the only two words I said.
Yeah.
But they seem to make sense. Yeah.
But the 3 pieces of action per story. I mean, because I'm a dumbass, my brain immediately thinks, oh, action, explosions, a fight, something like that. But no, an action, as he says here, it can be major or minor. But in a slice of life comic or something like that, it could just be like, well, why didn't you do that thing that you were supposed to?
Yeah, they're at a gig. Or
Yeah. And I think it's important who see these sort of like lists, don't look at it through the lens of, oh, he's clearly only talking about superhero comics.
Mate, I've seen indie auto-bio comics where somebody is in bed for the whole issue. That's just self-indulgent. Nobody's interested.
Yeah. It's got to go somewhere, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The action bits where they roll over or someone makes them.
Yeah. You see a nipple.
Yeah. But like, and if it's a one set type thing, look at it like a play. What's going to keep people engaged for like 90 minutes to 2 hours? It's set in one room. It's because things have to happen to move things forward. Otherwise, no one's going to pay to see two people talk.
I'm trying to think back, like Wolfgang Crow's book. I'm sure that opening is really punchy on that book.
Yeah, he bookends it, isn't he?
Yeah, so it's like as soon as you come in, it's like fucking hell.
I think issue 3's on the way, isn't it? I think from what you're saying.
Yeah. I've seen his stuff working on it, and it's like that straight away. It's a massively strong opening, and you're kind of like, you're with it. It's not the kind of sitting around not doing stuff kind of stuff.
And they do that in superhero comics as well. There was an issue of Savage She-Hulk where her and thingy is what's the name, Jack of Hearts, made a cake.
Yeah, fuck me. Yeah. I've made mistakes. In the first issue of Vanguard, there's an action sequence at the beginning where a plane crashes, and then the characters spend too long talking about a political situation before they get ready to go to action in the end of the first one, and the second one starts off with the action. But it should have been shorter. The first issue ending on like the actions kicking off in the second part.
But that's a learning, like you say. You look back on it and go, oh, I should have done that differently. But that's the learning that you had, and it doesn't really. It just makes the next ones better, isn't it?
Yeah.
We can't.
It's kind of that thing of the whole going back and redoing stuff you've done in the past because it wasn't up to stuff what you are. That's just a fucking snake eating his tail.
Yeah.
You're always going to be better than you were in the past. Well, hopefully, you're always better than you were in the past. So to keep on trying to go back.
Your name's Rob.
Yeah. He's certainly a case study on that. I mean, he has gone back and redone Youngblood issue 1. Which is
that's
very
true.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Let's not stand on Rob Liefeld
again.
Yeah. But again, we normally talk about him like once every other episode.
I mean, his one starts off an strong opening, but with a different superhero team. That's quite a fucking thing.
Did they jump out of a plane? They should do.
Yeah, should do. Always should do.
I mean, more and more people need to.
That one with everyone's first comic book. I mean. That's a tough one nowadays, isn't it?
Yeah.
We said,
that one.
Yeah.
Avoid redundancy, don't describe it. See, again, that's like the essential dialogue and the 7 avoid redundancy is very much like the writer working with the artist. It's not
Yeah. I think that it's a good list. It's a good rule of thumb list actually. The last one is something I've always sort of aspired to, like every end of a page should lead to the turn of the page. Do you know what I mean? Or even, and I'm just a fan. It's just ingrained in me that, like, the rhythm of the way I write, it's like building up to that, turn the page. There's got to be something you see nice on the, to reward the turn. We're almost building up, turn the page, there's your reward. Build up, turn the page, there's your reward. Something that
it's important to know what the 2 facing page is. That's how I like to work it that way as well.
And I mean, like, if you read a lot of my stuff, when it comes to whether it's an end of a chapter or an end of an issue, that's normally a bigger, I like to do a splash page or like take up half a page to be because that's a shocking moment tune in next week to see what happens. Do you know what I mean? If you see, Murder Road was something that I definitely paced like that. Everything it had to be, join us next time.
I mean, you don't do stuff like you have a conversation and then the last panel was like, do you want a cup of tea? And then the next page you turn over and the character's saying, yes, please, I'll have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So that's fucking awful.
Yeah. I think it's interesting as well when you have those.
It's all like, no, it's somebody at the door. It's almost that, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
And when you build those blocks for yourself at the end of an issue, and take your guys like Viper and Cockney Kung Fu and stuff, when you're building those rhythms of a 10-page short going on to a longer one, it creates an interesting and fun puzzle to be what is the first page of the next chapter.
Oh, mate, it's a massive jigsaw.
Yeah.
The comics writing is a jigsaw.
But a fun one.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think maybe that's going back to your block thing. Maybe that's part of it, man. Is working out that jigsaw sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is always a puzzle, isn't it, really?
Get to that more, I don't know if it's an advanced bit, but like I'll have the script and the story and it'll be like, right, okay, the story's going to take up 18 pages. I've got the action scenes. I can one page there, and it's just action. I don't particularly need to kind of like work on that too much. That'll come to me. But you just have to kind of have that chunk of pages. Like that's going to be an action bit. That's going to be an action bit. And
that's almost what I do with the people I trust that I work, or people I've worked with for a long time. So with the new Tony Osmond, I've said, look, there's 6 pages of a fight scene. These are the beats we need to hit through it. But otherwise, feel free to use the panel layouts as you wish. And do it that way.
Because when it's sort of like, I've done it with, right, say, then he does this, then he does that, and then this.
Yeah, you can't say, oh, he throws a right punch, he throws a left punch. I've tried that, and I don't think it works.
Just leave it to the artist. If you can trust the artist like you do, T, in your collaboration, and to be fair, it's working.
Yeah.
There's some set pieces I kind of have in my head that I like to describe, but the whole thing isn't something I go through.
I think though, one thing to bear in mind is for a lot of writers or collaborators who are dealing with maybe artists they've just hired or people from overseas that perhaps they don't have a relationship with, is just when you're leaving it up to them like that, which is great because it shows a confidence of like, I don't need to hold your hand, you know what you're doing. Just keep in mind, and I was just thinking about the issue in Bloom that I talked about the other day, where there was a couple of panels of where are these people standing and looking, at what point. So like as a writer or collaborator, just be aware of that when the pages come in, and also handle it well.
If you're getting nice thumbnails, get thumbnails of them. It's like literally just like sketch it off, and you got, say, your 2 characters interacting, and you got the stick man with a black head and the stick man with a circle white head, and you just can see the blocking of where they are on left and right on the page. If like the whitehead guy's always going to be talking first, he's got to be on the left side of the panel. And shit like that.
But also, if you're writing for yourself, think about the flow of things, and like if someone's punching someone, where are they approaching from the panel? Like we've had discussions privately about, have you seen this comic? Look at where they are here, and now the action's coming from a different direction. There are rhythms to things. But if you've been reading comics, I mean, we've all read comics where we're like, that doesn't make sense. Why doesn't that make sense? Maybe look at it and then think, why doesn't it make sense? And that's a learning of, I won't do that then.
It's just an instinctual thing when you're reading a comic and it's like, what? And then it breaks you. And you're like, oh, not
so Matt, in terms of like learning to write, I mean, keep writing. Just keep writing. Do you, I think, because and reading a lot. I mean, we are creatures of our influences and the lives we lead, aren't we, really? And everything that...
Oh, yeah.
We're a collection of everything.
There's no hard and fast rule for it. That's the thing with comics, thankfully.
Yeah. So, and I don't think...
There's 1,000,001 writers you can ask, and there's loads on the Slack about their process.
Yeah.
We've spoken about it. We've had writers on, creators that have talked about theirs.
I'm wary, especially in the Indian small press scene. There are certain rules that, in terms of structure and the way, like we were just talking about, the way that action plays. I'm wary to sort of say there's a right way and wrong way because everyone's got their own way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Be wary of people who say this is how it's done.
This is how it's done. Yeah. Especially in the small press scene, because the small press scene is very much, we're all wearing different seatbelts. We're all just we're driving different cars. We can do whatever the fuck we
don't
want.
Want to stomp over like what Tony was mentioning earlier. That there could be someone else who's doing something radically different. Which is the new voice we need.
Yeah.
That if you say no, that doesn't work. Like you got to work to this formula. That would stamp that creation out.
The amount of people that we've discovered or we've read comics or we've become friends with on this show. You know, even recently, you know, discovering their work, and I look at it and go, oh, I want to do something like that. Do you know what I mean? Just that the inspiration of like, oh, I like the way they're doing that.
And it's where the big enjoyment in a lot of comics has come for me as well, where somebody's done something so different. Even with established characters, they've gone and done something different. You think of Swamp Thing or All-Star Superman or something like that. They've just taken a little bit of a chance, done something different. I like it.
There's an energy to it, isn't there? When you can tell someone's working on something that they're just enjoying it.
Femforce.
Yeah, indeed. It's classic.
Always in the shower.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the way you read it.
See, that's the action sequences John's talking about.
Yeah,
that's what you mean.
Yeah.
And then he's broken
I don't
the
trust
only
this.
essential dialogue.
There is a lot of Kickstarter comics probably where there's an introduction of a lady getting up and having a shower. That I mean, how much of it needed? All I know is it's made quite a lot of money on Kickstarter. That's you know, maybe they're doing it right.
It didn't have the movie Whiteout, did it?
Yeah.
To be fair,
you just have you can have the best story going, but like if you do like the woman with like big boobs and they got them hanging out all the time, you're gonna fucking go gangbusters on Kickstarter. You're increasing your chances of doing well.
Always big tits. Yeah, sells. Yeah,
that's gonna be the title of the episode. But yeah, so process. I mean, I think I'd be interested to see what is your process, Matt. There's no. You may say it's random, but you know, can't be any more random than what we all do. You know,
if you random, aren't they?
Yeah,
we've got day jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a bit of an aside, but there was a video game stream when they were talking about how no one wants to look at ugly-looking video game characters, and people were taking a piss out of him, saying he looks ugly. Why would we want to listen to him? What you got to say? So you're literally proving his point.
The ad hom when they've got no proof, the ad hominem arrives, isn't it?
But
suddenly appears.
So you would listen to him if he was good looking. So thus, crazy. People don't consider the words coming out of their fucking mouth.
No. Thankfully we do. No, we don't.
No, never.
Not really.
Right, on to the next one.
On to the next one.
That ate up a lot of time.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. So Dave, this is going to be a bit of a shorter one because we're not going to spend too long on the bigger publishers. Dave Cranner, our old pal. What are we talking about? Anyone on the Slack is our pal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you are too if you're listening. Do you think the big two are a help or a hindrance to new and upcoming comics and their creators? Do you think there was a couple of questions here, so we'll just cover all this. Do you think they have saturated the market so much that now no new superheroes can break through? If they ceased to exist, would comics stop completely, or would more people take notice of other comics and creators?
No, it wouldn't stop completely, would it? There's no. I think that's a definitely no. Have they saturated the market? I think for a long time, my attitude to small press was, when I was a kid, or not small press, I suppose the indie stuff at the time was, I'll buy it if there's no Marvel comics there.
Right, yeah.
And I think maybe some people feel that way.
Yeah, I wouldn't even really consider it. I was always fucking
Some
Marvel,
people won't
DC.
even. Yeah, some people won't even buy it.
Before I got bitten by, the black and white indie explosion.
Yeah.
And,
Well, it'd be rough if Marvel and DC stopped existing. Stuff like global comics would not be able to exist on the revenue. So kind of like getting the comics
from an
out to
industry.
people. Yeah, from an industry thing, it would kind of close up a lot of avenues. As you said, T, it wouldn't stop comics. Comics have existed before Marvel and DC, and they will exist afterwards.
It might stop something like distribution. It might stop something like Diamond.
Yeah.
What have they got left there, really? Yeah. Image, okay. Dark Horse, okay. IDW are not selling much these days.
Yeah, but also we're at a time where there's a seismic shift in pop culture and culture in general, like the Eastern influences and the manga and everything else.
I know we're not covering it, but that's something Troy spoke about as well as part of that sort of conversation.
Yeah.
So that we have said many times, infinitum on this show. We've walked into a bookshop, the graphic comic book section
Back
is
comics.
is quiet, and the manga section is heaving. Do you know what I mean? It's
mobbed out. Yeah.
You know.
It would shift. I think you're right. I think we are seeing that shift anyway.
Yeah.
Now, without them having to disappear, I think we've seen it, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
But I think from the point of view of superhero universes and creating superheroes, Marvel and DC kind of still have the I think
the monopoly.
Doesn't DC have the license on superheroes or word? I think. But it still has that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think you're always up against
superheroes.
If you create a small press superhero, you're going to be up against Marvel and DC.
Yeah,
so you've got
you're always
going to
get lazy comparisons to those characters.
Yeah,
always.
Yeah.
I was thinking if like for some reason they couldn't get manga or US comics into the UK, would the UK comics industry be in any kind of position to step up to sort of fill that void? I would say no.
I mean,
not in the current state.
I would like to think the issue is the internet. The internet forever changed everything because it made everything more accessible. So, you know, in the 70s and early 80s when there were, you know, in the 80s when there was no internet, Akira blew people's minds in the West because they hadn't really, unless you were really in the know, how many Japanese books were being published in the West. How popular was that sort of? It was a movement that swelled. It was, and before then, you know, the small press independent scene. How much visibility was that getting? You know, apart from, I mean, me occasionally going, "Wow, I can see Cerebus in Wizard." Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't know, but that's not why I'm seeing him in Newsagent.
But the scene's so changed. Cerebus was selling numbers that mainstream Marvel will be proud of these days. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
I don't know why they don't do more talent spotting like the bigger boys online with like people in kind of smaller countries who just some of the skill you see is just ridiculous, and it's like a kind of a football scout. You go out and get these people
in
and
they used to be at They used to be at UCAT. They used to be at Bristol. You know, used to see them at conventions. You know, doing portfolio reviews. I know you did one, didn't you, Dan, for Valiant? But that's the last time we really saw one of those.
Yeah.
The portfolio reviews these days tend to be people who I don't really trust to know what they're talking about all the time.
Yeah. It's
who could you get a portfolio review of?
Yeah.
No, I don't think they do them at cons anymore, do they?
I think Sam from No Bro will do them.
Oh, that's all right.
He doesn't mind if you approach him and ask him nicely. I think he'll have a look at your stuff.
I mean, as for the big two being a help or a hindrance, I mean, I don't want to put
it's
it.
It's very multifaceted.
I mean,
it's got is kind
of, it's such a tribal medium anyway. When you're a comics fan and you like Marvel and DC and all that kind of stuff, and you know, we rant about we don't like this or we love this. You know, there's always going to be that anyway. I mean, I bite my hand off to fucking write one of the characters from the bigger companies. Do you know what I mean? But and a lot of people do want to do that, and they want to work on these characters, and it could be a stepping stone to doing their own thing, but there's no money in it. I don't think as a career path.
Depends, but not. I think Marvel and DC are seen as almost seen like public companies to some people, where they almost think, oh well, why aren't I working for them? And I'm thinking, well, because they're just a company, same as everything else is a company. They're not. There's no right for you to be there. You don't have rights to be in there. But I think you're right. I think they should be out looking at other stuff, because certainly around writers, they just seem to be hiring their mates at the moment.
Go for the same people, the same voices.
And some real low-hanging fruit writers at the moment. And there's at Marvel, especially.
It's also a logo to put on your CV or to put on your LinkedIn and stuff like that. For instance, I work in the design field as does Dan, and and if you work in the creative industry and you see these design studios, a lot of the websites all 10 a penny, they all great in their own way, and they seemingly have all worked with these huge brands, and you see these big logos and stuff. They might have just done one small job, and the client must have been an absolute fucking nightmare, and there was absolutely no money, but they got that logo on there. So when you go to the website, you're like, oh, they work for them. And it's the name recognition, I think.
A company I've worked for, I won't name them, but a company I've worked for has actively gone to people and said, you didn't work for us, take that down.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
not a comics company, incidentally, but a similar.
No, but there's similar sort of things happen, isn't it? Because it's name recognition. I mean, within the industry, I don't know how far that travels or how much the Echo is worth. But to
it's worth less these days. It used to be obviously a big thing, I think.
But to your Joe Publics or your family who doesn't necessarily read comics, and you say, "Oh, I'm working for Marvel at the moment," they're like, "Oh," and then they probably
trading cards or something.
And they'll probably be like, "Oh, are you working on any of the movies?" And you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sake."
I know a couple. There's Bill Wilco, who does he's in the Collective of Superheroes. He's done like some of those early learning books for DC, and done some art cards. Who else? There was someone I know that did art cards for like the trading cards, the art for that.
I know a lot of people who've done those sort of odd flair. They're called flair trading cards, which one of them every so often is a drawn trading card, and they put that they're Marvelised on there, and I'm like, are you though?
Edison Neo, has he done one? I'm not sure if he's done one. Have to tell us. If you haven't.
Well, he's done fucking covers and all sorts of things.
Right, so mate, he's fucking
as always.
I'm pleased as punch whenever I see him doing stuff. I love it.
That Stan Sakai thing was the best thing in the world.
Follow Edison Neo on Patreon because you'll just see
Instagram,
a wealth of amazing fucking. And everyone that gets a commission from that guy gets value for money. I don't even know what he's fucking charging.
Yeah. He's the next Daniel Warren Johnson. I keep saying.
Yeah.
For me,
well on the way, man. Yeah.
And
just needs that fucking talent scout.
I think it's just
figure him out
to get out of Singapore. See him.
But you know what? I think that's and it's creators like that, and likewise that the people like the Skybounds they're gonna light up at one point and just go them.
But it should be Marvel.
Yeah,
it should be Marvel.
It should be. But that's not where it is now. I mean, we see.
I know.
We spoke recently about the G.I. Joe, those silent issues. Different artists every time. And I know Phil Hester did one, but there's some other artists in there, and you can tell that these are people that are on their way up, and it's a perfect way to just sort of say, let's test this guy out, or a guy or girl or whatever, and just be like, let's see how they do.
And it's nice to see them tapping into markets like this, the Spanish. They're getting some. I think DC have got a couple of Miller used Jorge Fornes, didn't he? Jorge Jimenez, didn't he? In one of his comments, you think that's a fucking night. We used to, for a while. Anyone that Miller used, we're like fucking hell, good choice.
Yeah.
What has is Marini gone back to doing the European?
Enrico Marini.
Yeah, he's just done an Eagles. The Eagles of Rome. There's another one of them coming out.
Yeah, and like if you're a new listener, if the name is unfamiliar to you, Enrico Marini is one of the best artists in the world.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Yeah,
we freak over him, don't we? And we got an interview on the show of this dude has an entourage at Angoulême. I think I've told this story, but I was standing at the door of Angoulême with I think I was with Chloe and Chloe Green from Thought Bubble. And Enrico Marino walked through and he just thought, oh, he's about to interview me at New York Comic Con. I said, oh, hi, Enrico. And he leans through his entourage, shakes my hand, gives me a little point, and then wanders off. And I'm like, fucking geezer, fucking geezer.
Yeah.
And I look at Chloe, she didn't know who he was.
But he did some Batman stuff for a short while, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
because he'd always wanted to draw Batman, I think.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It'd been his dream.
Man, he could fucking do it. Awesome.
I think sometimes as old embittered comic book fans sometimes, or like we're like, oh, my character isn't like this, or they're doing this to that, which is all valid as long as you're not fucking being hateful on the internet. Just keep it quiet to yourself. But there are artists who fucking just want to work on this stuff, and if they're good, if they're getting,
I feel like that's how they get them at not rock bottom prices.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that I never begrudge anyone from like taking this work. I want them to do the best stuff, and I hope they get paid for it.
It's interesting because I went into a couple of Spanish comic shops when I was away, and one of them, it's always a bit of broken English, but I had to walk fucking miles to get one of them, and because it's by the seaside, this shop was like 2 miles up a hill basically to get to, and of course because it's a Spanish, they open at 11, close at 12:30, and then open again at 5:30. So I'm on the door at like 11 waiting for him to open, and I walk in there. Chris Samney Comics was the one on the counter.
Nice.
But the Batman and Robin Chris Samney comics, that was the one that sat on the counter. I thought, oh, nice. But that was a cross between mostly DC on the monthly shelf, some Marvel, and then the Spanish translations of the Bond Dessiné.
Nice.
Yeah, there was a sort of mixture of that in there. I bought the Hawkmoon translation in Spanish because I got the first volume in French. Got the second volume now in Spanish, but they were oversized printed as well, same as the French, which is great.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we love. I personally love the big two. That'll never stop, and I love their characters. It's just that I'm just.
Yeah,
not,
I think it's with the big
I'm
two.
just
Even
not
if you're
reading
going,
it. I'm just not.
Yeah,
reading
even
it
if you're
now.
going, oh, this is shit at the moment. You got fucking 60 years to go and read them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if it's not for you now. I mean, fuck a lot of the 90s. It wasn't for a lot of people, and they backed out and they came back to comics. There's a
few bits of sweet corn. I see it that way. There's a few bits of sweet corn put up,
and hopefully, the industry
as you pour through mountains of stuff.
And hopefully the industry's health continues as such that if it's not for you, the cycle will come back around until it is.
John Badese.
And
I said, man, it's the whole kind of look to your peers in the small press world. Like, there's people putting out books that are fucking great.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably in 20 years we're gonna be raving about another sort of biography book that's talked about the behind the scenes of what it was like fucking working on certain things, possibly. But who knows? All we do know is if you don't like those companies, now is never a better time to read.
Yeah.
There is a wealth of stuff from all over the world.
And my worry was that we wouldn't get any more Mad Cave, but I see that Film Planet's still advertising Mad Cave comics.
Hey.
Awesome.
So that's good. Yeah,
is that why are we worried about that? Because
Because Diamond weren't going to carry them anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And as we all know, Mad Cave are fucking killing it.
Yeah. Frank Thierry's got a new book coming out of them, which looks great. I love Frank Thierry's writing.
Mad Cave got to the point, and I find this that there's always the peaks and troughs with especially independent publishers. They come up, and certainly I've spoken highly about some that a few years later you hear, oh god, maybe they're a bit.
Who's the guys who did Dark Ark? Who are they again?
Aftershock.
Look what's happened to them.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you had like the likes of Boom doing well, but yeah, there was other ones, Aftershock and something else, wasn't there? I've forgotten what it was. Yeah. So Mad Cave, it seems to be every other fucking week I'm talking about a Mad Cave comic, but it's because they're just smashing it. They're absolutely smashing it.
There's some interesting stuff coming out from them.
And I hope that, I mean, we're hearing good things about it. The one I'm looking forward to at the moment, I mean, what I like about them is a book turns up and I'm unaware that it's coming out, and then it becomes my favourite book. The one that's coming up is The Phantom with Russell Mark Olsen.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Is that Mad Cave?
That's Mad Cave, yeah, because they've got...
Are they doing Flash Gordon at the moment?
Yeah.
Oh, I read that the other day. I read the new Flash Gordon.
Is it
I was going to talk about it last week.
It is Mad Cave, isn't it? Yeah, Mad Cave.
Just good
adventure. They did the Defenders
comics.
of the Earth, am I right? They did the Defenders.
Yeah, with Mike McCone and who's the dude who used to be the editor-in-chief
Dan
of DC?
Dan
DiDio wrote it. That's right. Yeah.
It goes through walks.
Yeah. Did he have stripy pants at one point?
Yeah. Black and
Perhaps we'll have to have.
Have a look at that Flash Gordon. It's up to about issue 10 on Mad Cave.
Okay. It's got some great
Global
covers.
Comics.
Yeah, I have been.
The interior is pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I always thought it was odd that he was running around like in a purple onesie kind of thing in the forest.
Fucking boiling hot, isn't it?
Yeah. But where'd you source that?
That's your issue with it.
Where did he get his costume?
I'm one of those
I mean, you are a stickler for realism in your books, aren't you, Dan?
There is similitude. Yeah.
But maybe you'd have like some camo gear on or something. I don't know.
Or just a pair of pants, like Tarzan.
Yeah.
Look.
It's good enough for Tarzan.
Yeah.
Anyway,
what's the next question?
One more from Simon Russell. Thank you as always, Simon, for your insights every week on comics.
Yeah.
He asks, and this one that's going to get us spiraling. You can never have too many comics, but how many comics is enough? If you had to clear out your collection, calm down, Tony, calm down. If you had to clear out your collection, but still wanted to have a small library of comics to read, how many would you keep, and what?
He wrote this to give me a stomachache.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
This has tied my guts in.
he's been eating Tums all
He's
day.
always taking the piss out. He's always
sweats.
taking the piss out of me for saying I must have everything. And yeah, it's weird. I know we talked about this with Eamon, but I'm getting to the. You know, I wasn't very well a few years ago, and I'm getting to the point now where I'm like, death is approaching. Do I really want to leave it for my dear family to come up here and unload the fucking hundreds of long boxes in that back room? You know. I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't think about it. There's a lot of comics that are massively crap that I own.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it. Yeah. I've got a virtually a complete run of Troll, you know. But
sorry, I don't know why that got me. I don't think anyone's ever said that.
No, I know. Yeah. But can I get rid of them? It's just mad, isn't it? I don't know.
Okay, right. Let's take the whole getting rid of them out of the equation. Like right. We're going to have the Awesome Comics card boot sale. That isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Although I am thinking about it. Because I just need to shift some books for space.
When I pop my clock with you two get first dibs anyway. So
yeah. So I've got
you could prune down the collection. I've definitely got my eye on some stuff which are like, I've not read this in ages. I'm not sure if I ever will again. It's a good book. Books.
Yeah.
But
I find
still want to hang on to this.
Yeah, I find that I'm sort of curating my collection a bit more, or I have done over the past few years. And by that I mean, and this is my own fault, ever since I got into the world of, this is a nice hardcover, when they became nicer books, when they became more collection. Because Are
you getting rid of the issues if you get the trade? Is that the sort of thing you're doing?
Yeah, especially unless it's a special, case. Like I'm going to keep those individual issues, and there's always an outlier. For instance, I've got like a pile of old Eagles and like the G.I. Joe reprints I'm keeping just for nostalgia's sake. But I have been, when this show started, and certainly in the early 5 years, the first 5 years. There was the bug of like I just had to buy everything. Went to the comic cons. I was going through the fat comics, long boxes, and £2 trade, £3 trade. I love a bargain.
Yeah. I remember you doing that.
I was coming back with loads of trades. Do you know what I mean? And these were trades read, enjoyed, much like a floppy issue, and I haven't touched them. I haven't fucking touched them since. They are essentially, and I've forgotten about them. I've got a couple of long boxes that I want to just sort of shift because as a reader and as a collector, I evolved into, actually I want a nice collection of that book. Oh, I want that comic book art book. I want this. The shelf space became more precious. So rather than just look how many VHSs I've got, it was more,
to be more kind of,
let's have the specific ones that I truly treasure. Yeah. Which means that at the same time I have a real problem getting rid of stuff. So, and I have yet to put anything, and I'm rubbish at eBay. So I haven't put anything on eBay. I haven't taken anything to a charity shop.
Selling it was a fucking pain anyway. You virtually get nothing for reselling it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what burns me more about any of it. It's like, you don't get anything for it.
All the people who don't know anything about comics think that I've got a fucking £1 million stored in my loft.
Yeah,
but even then, like comic book stores. Like if you had a long box of trades or comics, and I mean when you've got, they're heavy things anyway to shift about, aren't they?
They are now. Yeah.
But you take to a comic book store, are they still open to taking that sort of thing? And they probably only, what would they offer you for things like that?
They cost never. My advice would be don't take comics to a comic shop. They will give you peanuts. If you're going to sell comics, sell them on eBay.
Right, okay.
Or get your own table at the mart or something. If you just need to get rid of them, you can take them to a comic shop, but they will offer you peanuts for them. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like
I've seen the
long box.
Yeah, if that, mate. If that. I've seen people selling long boxes now on eBay. I think you brought my attention to it, one of you guys. And I think that's not a bad way to go.
Right.
Buy this long box.
I've seen people post up. They've got like the Panini UK reprints of like the American ones saying, "Oh, my husband wants to sell these comics on. How much would I get for them?" And I feel bad, but it's just like nothing.
Yeah,
like,
nothing.
You won't get nothing for that.
Yeah.
It's an issue.
There are some you will get money for. There are those comics you will get money for. I'm trying to buy up a little run at the moment, and people are charging stupid. Oh, here's a fucking rant. If you put a comic on eBay and you say make me an offer, and your comic you've got for sale at 10, let's say £10, and you say make me an offer, and I make an offer of a reasonable man's offer of £7.
Yeah.
Don't then go, okay, here's a counter offer of £9.50. Like, fuck off.
Fuck off.
What?
How's
Don't
that
put them
meeting
for
in
an
the
offer.
middle?
Yeah, I know.
50p off.
Yeah. Fuck's sake. Yeah.
I'm still trying to track those 2 missing books I've got for that Battle Royale, but they're like 50 quid plus for each one. It's like, and they were like for sale for 6-7 quid. I ain't paying that much money.
No, don't pay that much.
You'll
find them eventually. It's a long game with back issues, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think eBay will make much more money. It is a ball ache.
Yeah.
You'll make much more money. I've got a sort of vague plan when I put my clogs is the summer, my son and a couple of friends will put out some tables in the garden, and we'll have, this is Tony's Marvel sale day, and people can come around and fucking buy cheap boxes of comics and stuff like that, and that's how I'm going to do it. I've decided.
Okay.
Yeah. You two will have to help. You'll probably be in tears.
Fucking hell, you start a
too
podcast
sad.
and now all of a sudden you've got a job.
You get free comics out of it, and a packed lunch, because when you come around my house, Vince, you get packed lunch.
Oh, also, yeah. Lovely sandwiches.
Vince says, when's the date? I put it in my calendar.
I've got a calendar here. Lovely green from the Green Archer guys.
Free lunch in 2023, in 2028. Joe, I'm taking you out today. Tony's died, but we're getting free meal.
What's your favourite sandwich? Okay,
I feel like sometimes you have to get like my bookshelves downstairs. There's a couple of shelves that are getting double stacked.
Yeah.
And it's like,
oh god, I didn't think about double stacking them.
Yeah, these are all double stacked here.
Yeah.
Oh. So if I pull this out, there's books behind it.
Oh, chaps, you may have just solved some of my space.
Double stacked. Because that's not even about like I get grief from the missus about like the ordinary books, not just the fucking trades.
Yeah.
Like they're getting more of them in. There's like the bookcase in a bedroom, and that's.
I don't have as many of them anymore. Like I kept a couple of like the favourite books of all time, that the reread sort of novels.
Oh, you two are so disciplined. I've got a complete run of Uncanny X-Men, right?
It's not disciplined. I just ran out of space, man.
I've got the Essentials. I've got the Marvel UK reprints. I've got the fucking Omnibus. I've got various trades.
Yeah.
And various other reprints. You know, the classic X-Men stuff. Yeah, it's fucking nonsense. Yeah. Some of the issues I've got like 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, it is mad. You're a special fish for.
Well, it's kind of say so.
I bought the 6 Sidekicks of Buster Keaton trade like months ago, and it turned up. Read it, really liked it, and I was going through the bookcase sorting stuff out, and then I realised I bought the individual issues of Gary Watson, and they were all in a little bag. I fucking forgot. I'd even got them.
I tell you what though, it's a fucking drug. Like whenever. Occasionally I go on eBay just to see it, just to have a look through.
It's terrible.
Or if I go to the wonderful pound shop that's on the Slack sometimes. Seriously, if you're looking for cheap trades, listeners, and you're not on the Slack, get on it, because there's loads of our lovely community who are having a similar issue and just need to make some space.
We just swap them between their houses.
Just swap them, and there's loads of great stuff there. But yeah,
we have to have like a syndicate where we move our books around so the wives don't catch on.
It is. It's just in the nature when you're bitten by the bug of this hobby, you want to collect. They're the original Pokemon. You got to fucking catch them all. Do you know what I mean? And there's that when you like. I mean, that doesn't even go into the. I'm talking about just a general. You go into a comic book store and there's something in you that feels, I'll come out with something.
Yeah. I'm leaving it with something.
And never mind.
I always feel that. I used to let myself. I never left a comic shop without buying stuff.
Yeah.
I have occasionally now as well, but
if you go to a comic mart or a comic con, you have a list. That's a different ball game. That's the hunt then, and that's a different thing.
That's the fucking next level.
Yeah.
Let's go to the comic mart.
Yeah.
With
So
a list.
we've established that we've all essentially got some kind of problem. No. But take out the. We're getting rid of things, okay? Let's just take that out of the concept for the moment. And more like if you had a curated small library, a section in a library that belonged to you, what would your shelves contain? What particular books would if you had a stack, just say like one of those IKEA Kallax ones, but 3 shelves.
Yeah.
This is going to be brutal. 3 shelves high. You only get 3 shelves. What are the 3 shelves that best represent? I mean, this could be a whole show, so we're just going to do this pretty quickly for now. What are the 3 shelves? What kind of books? You don't have to name them all. I'm not looking for specific dates and comics and stuff. What would best represent you? What kind of books would be on there? I know, Tony, you're having a problem here because you don't want to pick your favourite child. I understand that.
I'd pull a book off the shelf and it would just be drenched in tears and just be titled Heartbreak.
No, but let's look at
Mine
like
would
this.
be a smattering of superhero stuff, like with Punisher, Daredevil in there. I'd have a shelf of kind of like independent, lot of superhero, like Invincible stuff, like Dark Arc, some Carl Stark stuff, and then I'd have like Berserk and a few other manga bits and bobs. That's probably be mine. And
Tony, you're talking about tears. What I'm saying is your collection still exists, but much like an art exhibition,
selection.
Much like an art exhibition, we're just putting them on display.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Look at it like art. You know, you've got this private collection of art, but they're being put on display. What are the books what best represents you? Do you think, or your favourite at the moment? That's a nice way to put it, isn't it?
A lot of Bronze Age Marvel, X-Books, Avengers, Teen Titans, Kirby, Ditko, McGregor, a lot of Alan Moore, a lot of Pat Mills.
Pat Mills,
there'll be Cerebus, obviously, Frank Miller.
Fucking hell,
yeah.
This is a really tough one, Vince, because it's like there's so much you'd want to put on there.
I tell you what, we may have at some point. I'm just thinking about this on the fly, listeners. Create a graphic where we'll just have a little square, and we
should have a thing like imagine we all move in together and we only get a shelf each in our little beds.
Yeah, that's what it'll be.
And what would be on our shelf?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard
next to the sink and the
next to the lube,
and we are the vast amounts of lube.
But with shame, P Diddy.
And Germaline. I love the smell of Germany. Anyway,
mouthwash.
Anyway, we're very healthy on this show.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those questions that no matter what you say right now, it's not a permanent one, because as soon as you turn around, you'll be like, how did I forget that one? You know, I think it's just a spur of the moment, the spotlight. What would it be? I mean, I just turned around and looked at my shelf, and I just thought, you know, there's going to be a bunch of books that were discoveries, you know, indie discoveries that I personally get a kick out of, you know, like Silver or Ghost of the Gulag, you know, which I've got hardcover versions of. But then I'm looking, I just go, well, Black Sad's got to be on there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Something like that. There's an Excalibur collection.
Yeah, Captain Britain, the omnibus.
There is. But even just there would be a cheeky, and it's a thin fat comic. It's one of those original trade paperbacks. The Arthur Adams Fantastic Four, where Wolverine, Ghost Rider, that one, which is an old comic, I got that one, and that is a treasure. That is a treasure to me. So that's like, you know, there's books like that are just.
It'd be a Mad book for me as well. Bit of Mad. I think I'd kind of be a bit of EC.
Yeah, I totally. For instance, I put on that. I know it's a recent one.
But Jimbo, I'd had that on there.
Yeah. That 40 years.
This could
Scream,
go and run.
The Scream collection. The Scream collection would go on there because that's just my jam at the moment. Do you know what I mean? It's just.
This is like Eamon's got this thing at the moment where you're meant to choose your favourite 2000 AD covers, and send them in. And I am prevaricating on that. Something wrong. I can't make my mind up. I'm on my third list.
Yeah. God,
there's amazing ones.
I tell you what, it does make you sort of turn around, look at your shelves, and fall in love all over again. That's what something like this. Don't see it as the pressure. It's just a bit of fun. But I think possibly
I try not to spend too much time looking at mine, because there's like a hypnotic effect that I'll get a book out.
Oh God, when I'm dusting or reorganising my shelves, it takes days because I pull the books out and then I'm fucking reading them all.
So long boxes is the worst. Long boxes. Got a couple where it's just loads of random stuff, and you look for it. Oh yeah, I remember this fucking comic. Yeah, I'll read that later, and then turn around. There's a pile about 15, 20 comics.
Problem is, I've got so many now. I've got too many that I can take out and reorganise. There's too many boxes that I can spread out across the house to reorganise. It's just too much.
Yeah. So Simon, I know we've absolutely bastardised your question a little bit. Apology, but I hope you
totally rubbish.
I hope you understand where we're coming from, and possibly I think
please don't torture me anymore.
You will also understand where we're coming from, because I know Simon is a huge.
Yeah, he's got loads. I know Simon talks a bit about cutting out things he likes for almost like a reference book or a book of art that he likes and stuff. Okay. So he will cut pages out of some things.
Yeah. But comics, God love them, absolutely God love them. I think
we'll put my question over to next week here, guys. Do you think?
Good shout.
Yeah. Where we might be joined by a different voice.
Someone else.
Interesting. Who will that be? The mystery. It's not much of a mystery, but then again, we may hear from Dan. We don't know. So many mysteries on this show. So many mysteries. Dan, you don't know what's going to happen, do you?
Loads of mysteries, no mistresses.
Dan probably doesn't know what's going to happen in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. That's fair. Fair.
And I certainly didn't know that this conversation was going to go in all directions, and hopefully what we've talked about has made you think about your own collections and your own creating, and I think there were some nuggets of wisdom and things to pontificate about. It's in the middle of the week, so I can use bigger words like pontificate. By the time we normally
we're back at work, can't we?
Yeah. But keep the conversation going online, etc., on Instagram and Slack. And thank you to everyone. This probably won't be the last time over the next few months as we head into the rest of 2025. I can't believe it's 2025. We will ask you for more and keep the conversation going. As for keeping it going, do we have any shout-outs this week, gents?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. Oddly compelling. The Dennis Kitchen story is now funding on Kickstarter. They've actually emailed us with a bit of promo on the.
Hey, there you go.
Pod email. It's nice. Keep an eye on. Well, if you're going to do it, keep an eye on the pledge levels, because they go from to fucking hell. Yeah. I would say that the pledge level, I really want to see this film, so I've pledged, but I think the pledge level for the digital version of the movie is a little high, so just be careful when you go to look at it. Dennis Kitchen is one of the big figures in underground US press. Do you remember I got that commission from him? Shall I show you it? Just to remind you? Do you remember I sort of ranted and raved about how brilliant he was and what a nice guy when I was in New York a few years ago, folks? That one. Remember?
Oh, nice. Yes.
We'll have to. You have to take a picture of that too, if you can, and then we'll post that on the Substack.
Yeah, and it's he also started the comic book legal defense fund as well.
Oh,
interestingly enough, yeah. So he's got a bit. Just go an exceptionally nice dude. Our buddy Sam Hardacre has a new zine out. Go and find him on the Slack or at Sam Hardacre on Instagram, and get a copy while stocks last. I've just ordered mine actually. Very cool.
Nice.
What else we got? Acid Box is the new Kickstarter from Avery Hill. It's about time travel and it's about rave culture, and it's a whole lot of fun. If you rewind 2 weeks back, you can hear me talking about it then. We've got a preview copy through, and it's doing very well on Kickstarter. Romo the Wolf Boy is from the UK comic cartoon. It's a legendary, really, if you follow comics in the 80s onwards. Ilya. And it's available to pledge now on Kickstarter. It's an all-ages action-adventure spooky character comedy, which looks excellent. Go and pledge to that one. It's doing well, but as always with these things, it could do with a little kick in the arse. Macc Pow, the Macclesfield Comic Festival, is coming your way on June 28th at Macclesfield Town Hall. I tabled at this for Nobrow a few years ago. It's a really nice, fun community, local. People there are local people who come in and buy comics and chat to you and stuff.
There's a lot of buzz on Instagram as well. They've got a really good community around that show.
They have, actually, yeah. Do you remember I sent you a picture of me with the Mayor of Macclesfield?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Who was I next to at that? Who was our little buddy who was on? Corey. I was next to Corey.
Yeah.
And so I had the picture. I got Corey to take the picture, and then leaned over and said something filthy to him, and he couldn't stop laughing. I think at this event, it's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The first 100 kids are getting a special Banana Man special of the Beano. Plus, again, Sam Hardacre, Lloyd Mills, and Ellis Best will be there as their little imprint Dab Hang Comics. So go and look for that one. I think. Go and vote for the Santos sisters at the Eisners. More from them soon.
Yeah.
Our buddies. Our buddies at Cutaway Comics are back with another classic Who Comics project. I love this stuff. Really interesting. This time they're riffing on the Happiness Patrol, calling it Unhappily Ever After. If anyone knows anything about that story, being sad was outlawed, which doesn't work in UK small press. This is a satirical sci-fi thriller set in the aftermath of the Sylvester McCoy story. Yeah, go and find it. I've backed that one. Go to Dipladocus and SeaLion.com. That's a great kids comic. Got sent through to us by Andy Goodridge a couple of weeks ago. He just wanted a few comments, just a few thoughts on it, because he'd not made a comic before, he'd not really drawn a comic before, just did this for his kids, and it's fucking marvellous.
Yeah.
So go and have a look at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
they're my ones, guys.
Nice. Dan, what have you got?
Faster Than Light, Volumes 1 and 2, Sarah Cooke, the hit sci-fi anthology about family returns. The galaxy is growing. Hot on the heels of Volume 1 success, Faster Than Light is back with an all-new Volume 2. Jump on board with the curated collection, I don't know why I said it like that, collection of grown-up futuristic stories about families of all shapes and sizes. And I know you're worrying, Tony. It says, don't worry, we've got Volume 1 too, so you can get caught up. Featuring 9 exciting stories, so you can sign up for that now. It's not done the launch thing yet, but it said like remind me upon launch. You can do that.
Yeah,
do that.
Well,
I think that's about it on.
Yeah, that's it this week. Yep, we're keeping it short, sharp, and sexy as always.
Lawless is this week as this goes out. Lawless has been and gone.
Yes,
of course, yeah.
What a weekend we hope you had.
Yeah,
and let us know.
It was great.
Let us know. Yeah,
well, I might be there.
Yeah,
the sun was shining.
Yeah. Let us know if you saw Richard Sheaf, aka the Don, aka one of the special crew.
Yeah.
Well, he's a legend. He helped us raise money for charity. And,
he's a good lad. One of our favourites.
He did. Yeah. He did all the hard work. We didn't know.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that man can organise.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah,
he can. And from those sort of legends to some comics that may be legendary, maybe not. Who knows? Either way, you should check them out. And there's going to be how many you got this week, Tony?
2.
2. Dan, you got 1 and I got 1. So this could be...
Yep.
This could be like just scattergun, sort of one and done. Tony, kick us off.
Mine is, it calls back to what we talked about the letter. What did you say? Oh, no, I know what you said.
He said one up the bum.
I've just occurred to me what he must have said.
Yeah. He just couldn't help himself.
When we get nearer and nearer to that Fantastic Four movie, I'm going to be doing a lot more of that guy who plays Finchy as Galactus, because he plays Galactus, doesn't he?
That is unbelievable, isn't it? That is unbelievable. I'm not sure about some of the casting in that movie, but that is fucking madness. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be great.
I mean, his voice, it's his voice he's got one of the best voices. Like, have you heard him?
I wonder if he ties his shoelaces together and throws them at the planet or something.
But I mean, I think he's essentially...
I've quoted out a comment where Reed Richards says something to him, and he's like, yeah, and you look like you've had a pot noodle and a wank.
Look at them, absolute children.
Yeah.
Tony, carry on.
Yeah, so my first one is called Paradox, issue 1. Sent in to us by the publisher, Rick Mulchan. I think he's also the writer. And it's a newest small press venture from the US. The cover price is $4.99, but I think there are some variants that are more expensive. You know, when you get certain variants that are more expensive, Forbidden Planet Love, all that sort of thing, don't they? I think there's a bit of that going on. It's written by Rick and James Joseph Jones, art by Eric Treadaway and Les Garner, letters Matt Wilson, colours Omi Remolati Jr. 24-page comics, full colour. Published, they're called Resolute Bliss Publishing. They've currently got a landing page on Kickstarter because they're funding it as well. So I'm guessing it will be going live quite soon. Looks like at least one of the covers is by Jay Lee, which is pretty cool. And they've also got work in them by Jim Starlin, and get this, Jim Starlin and Joseph Michael Linsner. So like I'm on board for those two artists all the time. Multiple covers. They've got kind of metal fantasy star legendary star story kind of heavy metal hurlant kind of groovy thing going on, which is quite good. It opens on a big single page, very Kyle Holtz It's not Carl Holtz, but it really reminded me. I'm a massive fan of Carl Holtz. I think he's the new hero in that sort of area of comics. And it's a picture of the outside of another worldly bar called the Mayhem Beer. It's got a sign saying Mayhem Beer, Dagon's Tavern Serpente, and it's sort of on its own in a landscape. And there's this building sitting there, and in the distance of the mountains, there's the outline of the mountains, and it's on a field, and it's next to a sort of dirt road with a telegraph pole. So it kind of sits in a certain area. You know, we know it's not far flung in the future. We know it's not far flung in the past. It gives you that feel to it. Second page is another single image, and it appears to show the interior of what we've just seen. But inside this bar, it looks very elaborately decorated in the way like it's a church. So it's got stained glass windows and sort of backing to it. And there's 3 people there. You've got a bishop who's called Sebastian. He's sitting next to him is a very well dressed man called Kane, and you've got a girl who looks a bit like Punk Mambo from the Valiant universe, a bit sort of tank girl kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
And she's called Lady Frond. And the bishop invites her to finish her sentence, and the 3 of them, in massive sways of speech balloons, talk about the problems the church is having and atheism and this thing called the demon. And it kind of reads a bit like a theological debate in a way. It's stuck into a fantasy story. It's a strange conversation, but it's beautiful art. Turns out this Kane is a servant to the titular paradox, and Lady Thrawn needs his help, and they sort of discuss that. Turns out that Mayhem, I guess he's the one who has the beer, is building a vampire army that needs defeating. And the second half of the comic is slightly different art. There's an art change, a little bit more Jay Lee in the second half, and it follows Kane going to meet his master, who's this guy called Paradox, this very powerful being, and they discuss the impending problems. Ends with the 2 characters, Paradox and Kane, deciding to go on a mission. It reads very much like a Zero issue to me, so almost like a scene setting Zero issue. Absolutely excellent art, but it is pure setup for what you've got. And I know the guy wrote in again, Rick, was saying that this is like the starting of a much bigger universe that they're building, so I can understand why they did it. There's this sort of epic celestial situation going on that they're part of, but I'm going to say far too wordy. If I was giving it one sort of main problem I had with it was I really liked it, but it was a slog to get through. It really was, the dialogue. I was very tempted. Had I not been talking about it, I'd have probably dodged a couple of the balloons. Put it that way. I'd have probably slid past a few. Do you do that? Do you ever do that?
I feel guilty for doing it. I've done it.
Yeah.
You just sort of I was glazing over that, and it's like,
also,
why am I doing that?
But if you do that and you don't miss anything, that brings back the essential dialogue bit. Was it needed?
Yeah, this is a great example of what Dixon was saying in that thing. There's names are repeated, so if you're having a conversation with someone, I think the Punk Mambo character, Lady Fraud, she uses Sebastian's name twice in a panel.
Yeah.
So unless you're addressing royalty or something in the court of St. James, there's no need to keep saying things like that. There's also a character who says, here's what I think you should be saying, or here's what I think you're saying, rather than just saying, you're saying this.
Yeah.
You know, it was almost like a precursor to a sentence. It's almost like a prologue to a sentence.
Go back to the Chuck Dixon thing of like just cutting that speech down as much as you can.
Yeah,
strip it back.
It brings to mind something that I heard about recently about some TV shows are created for short attention spans. They are
that fucking kills me.
They are created for, you can watch them and you can scroll on your phone, and then when you look up, you haven't really missed anything.
There's some things on BBC Three that are like 10-minute episodes now, aren't there? I noticed as well. Some sort of comedy things.
Yeah. So how does, I think possibly like another topic for another future show, like the short attention span, how does that affect comics? How does comics get around that? You know?
I mean, the other thing that the crime here in a way is that the balloons cover up the art. which isn't fair to the artist when you've got this very beautiful and elaborate drawing, but there's these like massive. I showed them to you, didn't I, guys? I sent you a screenshot while I was away. Now I was trying to think. Well, there's no rules. There are no rules. Fucking do it if you want to do it. Do it if you don't do it if you don't want to do it. I'm not one of those guys who say this is breaking the rule of such and such, because there are no rules. There's an Alan Moore guide which some people refer to. I don't think I agree with everything he says, but he said as a rough guide, 35 words per panel, 20 to 25 in a balloon. 25 is an absolute maximum for a balloon size. There's some here that are 125 words in a balloon, which is quite lengthy.
That 25 one is a rule that I've tried to stick to.
Do you? Oh, that's interesting.
I do try and stick to that. I think the first time I heard it, I didn't. Shame on me for not knowing it was Alan Moore rule. I think
he may have got it from somewhere else. I'm not totally sure.
But it was Lizzie Boyle, the writer Lizzie Boyle, said it at one point. When I was asking her advice, and all of a sudden that just stuck with me. It's like, because it makes total sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's fine. I think as long as you're applying that rule along with other ones, so you're saying, look, there's more 25, but they have to say something. They have to do something as well. I think.
Yeah. I feel bad because it starts to tick over into being like a kid's picture book and not a comic.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When there's like the ratios so off that there's way more text and images. It's like, this was like a kid's book that I'm being sort of.
I think you guys are maybe a little young to remember Rupert, and Rupert was just loads of drawings, and then there was the text, heavy text at the bottom of each panel. None of us could be bothered to fucking read that text. That was kind of designed for parents to read it to their kids.
Yeah,
I think.
Like, you turn the book around and show the kid, oh, that is Rupert. Picture, and then you go back to reading it again.
But this is a lovely broad canvas. They're painting this big epic on. I think. It's nice to see them swinging like that. There's a big swing in this comic. This sort of plan. They've got some fucking great artists on board. Some just outstanding stuff going on. There's a lot of imagination going into it, but I think they just need to be careful that it's hitting that problem that you get a lot with amateur fantasy novels, where it says Longaborn was born from this and blah, and this and it's like you're like, oh, fuck off, and nobody cares. Let me work out what's going on by you introducing the people and the things that happen, rather than just telling me for a whole issue in loads of words what happened previously. It definitely has its quality in this, and I suggest you to watch out for it to drop on Kickstarter, called Paradox. There you go, that's my first one.
Nice. Dan, what have you got?
That sounds great. I went back to a book. I'm not sure if I'd kind of already seen this already, but we talked about it when the writer Carl Starks was on. It's Kill Them All. It's a paperback. I saw it on Global. I had a real laugh reading this one. If you kind of like Carl's stuff, he kind of calls back a lot to sort of 80s kind of trashy action films.
He was sort of known for that before his sort of big writing gigs at Marvel and DC, wasn't he?
Yeah. So like this is very much like Sarah Cooke bought me the Sarah Harris, not Sarah Cooke. That's the one who's done Faster Than Light. Sarah Harris bought me the Sex Castle.
And right.
Like, man, it's fucking amazing. I think we was at that one of the London Super Comic Cons, and she said, "Oh, have you read this?" I was like, "No," and she got it for me. I was like, "Oh, this is." Fantastic.
Oh, I remember this. It might have been the first time we met, was it? I think.
Yeah, I think it was like one of the first times. And this is very much in the same vein as that. Like, if you kind of know your 80s, 90s crappy action films, there's nods to it throughout. There's an amazing bit where one of the characters at the start is watching like trash TV. And it mentions, like, you've got all these stories popping up about things that have gone on in the world, like mysteries that haven't been solved. And a couple of them come round at the end of the book to be true. And it's just such a little throwaway thing in there, but it's such a skilled author of having the callback right to the beginning bit of the book that was like a bit of a throwaway sequence. But it's actually, like, that's relevant. It's all on Global. Real blast to read it. Go check. Man, if you like Carl Starks, you like Carl Starks. His work on The Peacemaker Gets Hard was fucking.
That's great. That was a great series, wasn't it?
Yeah. I really like that book.
It was a bit of a sleeper hit, that one, I think.
Yeah. I just didn't expect that book to be coming out of DC when I kind of realised it was Carl Starks. I was like, oh, fuck me, why'd I sleep on this?
It was the B.
Really, really fun. Yeah. Lots of fun.
Okay, from there, I read one on Global Comics. I've got a whole stack that I'm going through at the moment, but the one I'm going to talk about today is quite an old school one. I meant to talk about it a couple of weeks ago. It's a little horror book from you remember when Top Cow did pilot seasons? Do they still do that? They still
only did a few, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah. This one, which I didn't... When I saw on the cover, it said pilot season, I thought, that sounds like something Top Cow did. But this is from Monster Forge Productions. So I just continued. And then after a little Google afterwards, I realised it was a pilot season book from Top Cow in 2011.
Oh, right, the Monster Forge had taken on.
Well, I have a feeling that this is the creation. This is Fleshdigger. What a lovely name that is. Written and created by Shannon Eric Denton and Brad Keane. Art by Alex Sanchez. Colours by Hi-Fi Colour Design. Letters by Troy Pateri. Edit by Philip Sablick, who I think worked with Top Cow. That name rings a bell. But this now, like looking in the small print in the inside cover, it is now 2025 Shannon Eric. It's sort of gone back to them. I think it might be one of those ones that Top Cow had it for a bit, and possibly the rights have gone back. You know, the creator can have the book now, because pilot seasons worked. You created books, put them through Top Cow. If they took off, then they got a full series. Yeah. Is that right?
Nice.
This one I don't believe did, but I didn't know at the time. I thought, oh, what's this new series? Well, what this series is pretty sort of a gruesome little anti-hero horror crime book that feels a little bit like a Full Moon Studios movie in a lot of ways, which is no bad
Ticking
thing.
my boxes.
Yeah. A random act of kindness can be damning. When a man witnessed the ruthless beating of an innocent woman, he rushed to help her and was brutally murdered for his trouble. Now driven by revenge, sorrow and guilt, the woman enacts arcane forces to resurrect him. From out of the earth he'll rise, a twisted, worm-riddled monstrosity, forced to carry out vengeance to maintain whatever life he has left, all while confronting the unimaginable truth of his new hideous existence. There's a lot more to the synopsis. It goes on quite some time. Much like it probably was what they wrote for the actual pilot season, I guess, when they pitched it.
Yeah.
From Harvey Award nominee Shannon Eric Denton, from Graveslinger and Common Foe. There are two names that I... And screenwriter Brad Keane, The Grudge 3. Nice. Sign of quality. But this was, I mean, I picked up...
that always reminds me. I know his name's no good anymore, but Russell Brand on his radio show used to go on about his girlfriend being in... I don't know if you know this, but she's been in movies. Grudge 3.
The Grudge 3, yeah. What a banger.
God, what a banger. This particular title, though, I didn't know. I've just mentioned Top Cow and all of this, and it didn't go any further. I didn't know that going into this. So it was just, this looks like an interesting little indie series. And I got a real sort of some popcorn munching entertainment out of this. Clearly a first issue setting up a character. Unfortunately, it goes nowhere. But it's a well-crafted little... You get a little bit of a sort of pre-credit scene, if you will, where there's these sort of worms in the ground. There's like supernatural worms, and that's what... And someone gets murdered back in the day by these witches. Cut to modern day when you've got the... You know, he's clearly an attractive guy. It's clearly set up. He's got that Hollywood kind of vibe to it. And he's walking home. You find out a little bit more about him. Seems like a nice guy. He's walking home. He tries to stop this woman getting attacked, and he gets killed for it. And they dump him in the ground. And this where they dump him is where those weird supernatural worm type things are. And when he rises from the ground, I know what you're thinking. A lot of this is following the same format that we're seeing, like a Spawn or something like that. And yes, it does sort of follow that sort of thing. But if the person rising from the ground essentially had no flesh and was maggot ridden, and they rip off people's skin and then put it on their own face, and then their face morphs into something else, it was just good fun. You know, it's a quick read, 15 minutes, but sometimes that's all we need. I just wanted it was a nice little gruesome, quite well told, well plotted. I knew where it was going to go. You get a sense of what the world was. The art was really... I really liked it. I mean, I guess because it had the Top Cow sort of little bit of weight behind it. Alex Sanchez. I don't know what he's done yet, but he had some chops on him in 2011. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, it's gruesome when it needs to be. The action is suitably horrific, and it ended at a point where I was thinking, oh, where's this going to go? Because we get a little bit of a clue to a bigger story being told. Unfortunately, I think that went nowhere.
No, right.
Yeah. So it is a true small press and indie comic in every sense of the word. In this collection, though, well, I say this collection, this version that I read on Global, which clearly I must be the creators have got the issue, so they're just putting it out there. As we always say, if you've got stuff, gathering dust, or maybe an old piece of work that you never know who might read it. But they had some great covers. There's a Kelly Jones piece of artwork for it. There's a Tim Seeley cover for it, which is pretty badass. It's a really nice looking book. That it also gave me a vibe that almost felt like it was an issue one of. I mean, maybe it might be too hardcore horror for a Valiant, but it felt like it was. You had like of a publisher when they've got the main characters, and then there's those weird off the side, darker, more horror based ones. It felt like a title that. Like a Malibu book, you know what I mean? You had the main ones, and then there was something off to the side. So yeah, Fleshdigger. If you like your horror a little bit gruesome, I think there's potential there to do something like this. It's just a shame that I guess that's the problem with those things like pilot seasons, isn't it? You take your punt, and if it doesn't take off, where does it go? But thankfully, it's an entertaining little issue. So if you like your horror books and things like that, then give it a little go. So that was quite a nice one. Tony, what have you got?
Cool. Last one is Coffin Knockers, Tales of Terror.
I love the title.
Yeah, it's good title, isn't it? It's by Early Worm Comics. Cam Hayden at Early Worm Comics. I think that's his imprint. So it was really nice. I came back from holiday the weekend, and it was sitting there in the post box, and I'm like, oh, I didn't order it. He just thought he's sent a little note saying I'm enjoying the podcast, so you go do what you will. And it was so good I decided to recommend it on the podcast. So you'll know him if you look up Lance Goiter on Instagram. We follow him, but go look him up. I really am a fan of his work. I've previously talked about.
How do you spell that, Lance?
Lance Goiter. Lance Goiter. I think I don't know if you remember. I talked about shitty stories before.
Yes. Yeah.
Submit or Die and Least I Can Do, and he's also in the always great Spread Love comics, which I know Falpy and a few friends of ours. Webster Sharp was in it, a few other people, and he sent me a couple. This is the first one I read. There's another one he sent me which I haven't got to yet, but it's a collection of those thick line. He's got a lovely sort of thick, cleanish line. We talked a bit about him before we started, and he's almost like the underground version of Vince. That's how I see him. He doesn't look dissimilar to you, actually. He's got the beard on the go as well. So yeah, I've decided he's your Canadian astral twin, I believe.
Nice. A lot of people seem to want to look like me these days. I don't blame them.
They're desperate too, my friend.
Yeah.
Not made of stone. And so there's a few great stories in there. I've got him there now. The Spooked, which is the first one. It's a story about this dude, and he's massively obsessed with finding ghosts, him and his mate, to the point where he's just fucking ignoring his family, and they're going, "We've got no money, we haven't got any food," and he says, "No, but I need to go ghost hunting." So he goes off ghost hunting with his mate, and he thinks he's getting somewhere, and then something happens. You're like, "Oh fuck, that's a bit of a twist in the tail." Really interesting one. Let's go to fucking Hawaii. Is the story of this one.
Amazing.
It's like the best title of comic this week.
Yeah, great.
It's written by Cam, but it's got art by Aaron Navradi, I think he's at Rusty Fingers, and it's set in space, in a sort of contemporary space situation. So it's a space shuttle going to a space station in space. So you've got that, and it's got this lovely brushy, loose artwork. But so you've got these like, these heroes out in space going to the space station in the space shuttle, but all they're talking to each other about is who's the most punk. Oh, you've never heard of this lyric, which is where Let's Go to Fucking Hawaii comes from. Oh, I saw them live 3 times. It's a bit like that.
Yeah.
It's like all the people who reckon they've seen the Stooges live. You know, all those people, they're all fucking lying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the longest story in the back, which is one that I think is great. And what he does, he lays it up as there's this old couple, you know, both a bit creaky, both like not really well, and she's making him tea. Don't get up, darling. You watch the show, and he's worrying about his show being on and all this sort of thing, and sitting there watching the telly, and she gets attacked by a cat in the kitchen. But it takes ages to get to that bit. You begin to love this couple. You're like, oh, aren't they nice? Isn't this like real? It feels very real, their relationship. Then she gets attacked by a cat, and then something else happens. And it's classic, almost EC crossed with underground comics feeling to it, which is absolutely lovely. All of his characters they're kind of normal, but they kind of got fucking danger in their eyes, I think, is the way I see his stuff. Just one of those dudes who knows what he's doing, and he keeps doing it. And people should be talking about him. Like last week with Dan, with Dan Hughes, we should be talking about these people. They don't. These are the good comics out there. We see a lot of small press. We're like, but this is good.
This is the best.
Go to lancegoiter.bigcartel.com. I think it's T Republic. What's that T-shirt site?
I think it's something like that. T Republic.
Yeah, he's got a load of T-shirt designs on there that are great.
Is it T
And he's also
Public?
got,
I can't remember.
I think you're right. Yeah, and he's got a Patreon as well. Just go and search for Cam Hayden, but go and buy some of his comics, especially if you're in North America. lancegoiter.bigcartel.com, and you can find it. Yeah, nice little surprise. And he's one of those characters who keeps turning up, and I think, I wonder what he's up to next, and then the comic will arrive. It's like that. Good egg, and he's a listener. So there you go.
Hey, nice one.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
That's my second one, guys.
Well, there you go. Great comics chat. Great comics to read and check out, and. Another. I tell you what, this Three Amigos, we gave it all the ha, and then we've got ourselves
had a decent chat.
We've just
being relatively strange,
been pondering our existence as comic creators and fans. But it's been good fun, and it will continue to be good fun. And we hope you enjoyed it and it got you thinking. I mean, like we always say, it's just our opinion and nothing is true fact. Well, the only fact is this show is awesome, and thank you very much for listening to it. And if you want us to talk about anything coming forward, we line up some more guests, new voices as always, coming to the show, and new creators to add to your wish list, etc. But if there's any topics or process or anything else about comics you want us to talk about, get in touch with us several different ways, and we'll start talking about them on the show. You can email us awesomecomicspod@gmail.com. Follow us on social media @awesomecomicspod on Insta, where we post up the latest episode, and we have a bit of fun picking which music to put with the image. And I don't know why, I just love doing it. At the Awesome Pod on X. Thank you very much for listening to us, whether it is on the website awesomecomics.podbean.com. On Apple Podcasts and Spotify, you can
all the
subscribe.
Substack. You can listen on there as well.
Yeah. Well, let's do a proper link.
Right,
let's do a proper link for that in a minute. And we're also on Amazon, Stitcher, Podnose, Podknife. What other networks are we on, Tony?
We're on the Pod Network. Give your life to Jesus and forget about the penis.
Wise
Valuable
words.
advice.
Yeah.
That's what this show's all about. Valuable life advice.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, we have a Substack. So, if that's your jam, we'll probably start attacking that a bit more in the year. But
you'll see the covers of stuff mostly that we talk about.
Yeah, a little bit extra. And
squeeze a few more hours into the day, get some more stuff.
That's how I feel, man.
Yeah.
I always have it ready to go. So Vince says, "Oh, we're posting at 10." I always have it all written out and ready to just load onto there.
Yeah. It only took almost 10 years, but now I've got it down to the new shows will come out 10 a.m. UK time on a Monday. So put that. Yeah. So there you go. I've scheduled it.
Be consistent. That's what we've learned.
Yeah. Only took me almost a fucking decade to do it. But there's also merch and stuff on acpgear.redbubble.com.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This very weekend, I'm planning to work on some new designs, which I'm going to show the chaps. I've got some ideas from some nice
10 years, haven't we?
Comic-based messages to get out there to rep the pod and your love of comics in the future. So go there and help support the show. And where can people find us online, etc.? Tony?
Neverhidanything.com, or as I said on Substack, Tony Ez, EZ.
Nice. Damn.
You can find me on social media all over the place shop, but you can read Vanguard at vanguardcomic.com and on Global Comics.
As well, you bloody well should. And you can find me on social media at Jester Diablo. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. We truly appreciate every single listen, every single comic that gets sent through to us, and every single comic we read. So stay tuned, because next week even more comics are coming for your ears. We'll be coming in your ears. No,
for your ass.
It will be. Well, we'll be.
What?
There'll be a lot come. No, there won't. No, I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's going. Where do you want it to go?
Up your ass.
I can put it.
I knew he'd say that.
I thought I had to deliver.
Do you deliver?
Just for fun.
Anyway.
He's like the Uber Eats of cock.
Well, if any of your stories go by, it gets interfered with on the route to your house.
I know, I don't like that.
Oh my God. From all of us in ACP
Another
Towers.
t-shirt design there, ready to go.
From all of us in ACP Towers, we're just going to keep reading loads of comics, keep making loads of comics. We're about
You're
to
not
order
called the Thank God for nothing.
Yeah. We're about to order a takeaway. So until next week, from Dan, Tony and myself, have a brilliant week. And what else should they do, guys?
Stay awesome.
Stay awesome.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.